Hi guys, it's Kai here and welcome back to my channel, and today we are talking about my history of gaming. I didn't know what else to call that. I probably will come up with a better name for it by the time I edit and post this video, but for right now we're calling it the history of my gaming. And the reason I'm doing this is because recently on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook or whatever, people have been hashtagging either movie struck for, game struck for, book struck for. Like, I honestly don't know where it started or why it's being called that, but it's the four things of like games, books, movies, or whatever that formed who you are for me as a gamer. So I did game struck for because I'm a gamer. I read books and watch movies though too, but they haven't impacted me as much as of right now. But I'm getting off topic. Anyway, I did it on Twitter, and my link should be somewhere below if you'd like to follow me. I did it on Twitter, and I realized as I was trying to pick the four games for that there's so many games that I've played and that have impacted me, and or not even ones that I've just played, but ones that I've watched. There's so many just games, so many that have impacted me because I have been gaming like as long as I can remember, and I've made a video about this before, how I got into gaming. I will link that below and in an end card or something like that, so you can watch that if you'd like. But this is basically just a more in-depth view of that, how I got into gaming, why certain games have stuck with me, why I remember all of these. Because like I said, I've been gaming ever since I was younger, and I have my family to thank for that. My brother-in-law, my brother, my dad, we've all been gamers, and so it's just kind of stuck with me. I kind of grew up around it. I was a homebody. I didn't go out. I still don't go out. It's what I do. It's what I'm comfortable with and what I enjoy. So yeah, we're going to talk about them in somewhat chronological order. I have a really, really bad memory, so remembering these things was extremely difficult for me. But I broke it up basically by system, and by doing so, I kind of put it in somewhat chronological order, so hopefully this makes sense. Hopefully this doesn't get too rambly, because my mind is not very good at these kind of things, but we're gonna try our best. So we're gonna start with the NES, SNES, and N64 time period. And that basically consists of all the games that I started with. My earliest memory of games that I've played were Paperboy, some Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle game, I've talked about these two before, also Super Mario 1 through 3, and then also Mario 64, which I had to ask a friend the name of this game because I couldn't remember it and I couldn't find it. Because I, for some reason, cannot find anyone else that seems to have played this game other than like me and maybe a few select people. But I remember vividly you were in like Peach's castle, I guess it was, and you had to jump through paintings to get to the worlds. And I don't know why that's such a vivid memory for me, but it is. So clearly I had to put it on the list because it's just ingrained in my memory. But like I said, these NES, SNES, and N64 days were like my origin story. I'm 23 years old. I was born in 1994, so this is around about the right kind of time period. And the reason we had like all these consoles was, again, because of my family. My brother-in-law specifically, hardcore gamer just like the rest of us, and he's the one that I really kind of blame for introducing me to games, because of him living with us, we always had all these consoles, and then that introduced me and my brother to it, and even my dad, and we just kind of always had it. It was always around. It was something to do on a rainy day or when no one was wanting to play or hang out. So yeah, that's kind of how it started. And then a little bit after that time period, all kind of, muddled around in there, you had like the Game Boy Advance, and the Game Boy Color. And I know we had the Game Boy Color. I don't know about the Game Boy or the Game Boy Advance. My memory is so foggy when it comes to that time period, but I remember having the Game Boy Color, definitely, because I remember what it looked like, and the color was horrible. They called it a color, but it was very badly colored from my recollection. But on that, I remember Frogger. Like, why? I don't know why we played this game so much, but I was obsessed with Frogger. Of course, there was, the Mario games on there. And then also Pokemon. Like, I don't know who in my generation has never laid hands on Pokemon. I don't remember specifically the colors of the games that I played, but I do know there are multiple iterations of Pokemon that I have played. And I think that's where the first one came in, was the Game Boy Color is where I remember kind of playing it. And I remember oh god, it must have been, I know we had the Game Boy Advance then, now thinking about it, because I remember having those lights that went on the top of it that would light up the screen for you. See, this is how my memory works. I have to like talk about it to remember it. But yeah, so those were like the Game Boy kind of early handheld days. And then a little bit after that time period, I remember I was still in elementary school, so 5th grade and below. I was being watched by a babysitter after school who like lived around the corner from us, and her like family had a PlayStation and a Sega Genesis. And with those systems came Sonic, so that was the first time I was introduced to Sonic, was on the Sega Genesis. I don't remember which Sonic it was, but I do remember it. And then I really, this is a horrible story to tell, but we're going to tell it because who cares? There was a Mary-Kate and Ashley horse game, and I forget what it was called. I'm sure I'm gonna look it up, but I played it at her house because they had a PlayStation and that's what it was on, and we had a PlayStation at home, of course, because we had all the systems usually, and I took it. I wanted that game so bad that I took it so I could play it at home. But the bad thing about this game was, for some reason, it wouldn't save. I think it was so scratched up because it was so old. It would not save. So anytime I wanted to do something, I couldn't progress very far because I'd have to like turn off the PlayStation. I couldn't save, nothing worked. So I'd either have to leave my PlayStation on all the time or just restart every time I went to play. So it wasn't even like worth taking because I could have just asked for my own version of it that would have been better, because I could have saved and like made story progression, but whatever. And then also in that same kind of time period, we had a computer. And then also when I was in 5th grade, so hold on, let me back this up. We're in early PC realms. When I was in 5th grade, I learned to play the flute, but the way not middle school, the way my elementary school worked is you had to learn an instrument in 4th and 5th grade. In 4th grade, I picked viola, I don't remember how to say it. And then in 5th grade, I wanted to switch to the flute. So when I was in 5th grade, I'd have to stay after with some other 5th graders that switched instruments and learn afterwards. And I guess the only person that could watch me was, again, my brother-in-law. So he would pick me up after those lessons and we would go to his house or apartment, whatever, it was an apartment. And I guess the only way he knew how to entertain me was to put me on the computer to play a game. But that's when I got introduced to Sims 2, and that changed my life. It literally, that's I think the pivotal moment for me in terms of gaming, which sounds crazy to say, but that is literally I think where I'm rooted in gaming, is that Sims 2 moment, from playing it for hours at a time while being watched by him. And there's just this one memory I have where I was like playing, and I don't know why this memory sticks with me so much, but I was playing, and I guess I had been playing for a really long time, and he came up to me and he like grabbed my head, made me look up, and he like looked at my eyes, and I guess they were like super bloodshot from looking at a computer, and he was like, he said something along the lines of like, all right, that's enough, you've been playing too long. Like, that's how invested I was into Sims 2, and I'm still so invested in the Sims franchise, so you're gonna keep seeing it along the way here. But that just, I don't know why that moment stands out to me and why that's so important, but it is, or it was, it is. But then also in that PC time frame, we got Zoo Tycoon and all of its expansions, and we also had the game Dogs, which was fun but interesting. And if you've never heard of Dogs, I highly recommend you look it up. Actually, there's LGR did a video on it, so I'll probably link that so you guys can watch it, because he does a much better job at explaining things than I do. But I think that like whole young PC era is what got me really started, because I'm a solely PC gamer now, and it's kind of funny looking at the PC games I played, because clearly I have a trend. They are like simulation, they are animal related. It's just so, it was so interesting to me to sit down and be able to write all these things out, because I didn't realize what kind of gaming history I guess I had. And like, I know I play a whole bunch of like totally random kind of games, but I definitely seem to have a theme now that I've written them all down, and it's kind of interesting to me, and I hope it's interesting to you. All right, so after that we have the GameCube era. This one I think is probably my biggest chunk other than my like current gaming setup, but we played the GameCube a lot, and so much to the point where I know we had 2 GameCubes, and there's so many games that I played on it. I tried to narrow it down to the ones that I remember the most, and there's a lot of them. We have Harvest Moon, Star Fox Adventures, Metroid, Resident Evil 4 specifically, Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, and Wind Waker, Mario Sunshine, and Paper Mario. So those are the ones that I specifically remember, but there was probably more games in there. Harvest Moon I adored, still adore, and I kind of wish we kept the GameCube so that I could play it, because that is the only Harvest Moon game that I've loved so much. I didn't like, you know, I didn't like the one they came out with on the DS or whatever it was. I didn't like the one that they came out with on the Wii. And they've yet to come out with another one. Star Fox Adventures I loved because of the little dinosaur. You had like a little dinosaur sidekick. His name I think was Tricky, or at least I called him Tricky. I don't know if you could name him. But I remembered that game because of that dinosaur, and I loved it so much. I played that game, my dad played that game. I probably played it more than once because I loved that freaking dinosaur, and I loved Star Fox. I kind of wish there was more Star Fox games. More games that I could play with Star Fox, because I like Star Fox. So Metroid I put on this list, even though it's Metroid Prime actually. I put on this list not because I played it, but because my dad played it. And so I've never played a Metroid game in my life, but I've watched my dad play many a Metroid. And specifically Metroid Prime, because we had a game guide. It was a book because it was hard to find things on the internet back then. But we had a game guide, and whenever he played, I would be the one to sit there and read the game guide and tell him what to do, where to go, how to beat that boss, whatever it was, whenever he got stuck. And that, I think I've explained this before, but those kind of memories are ones that stick with me, because there's a lot of games that I haven't played myself, but I've watched other people play. And specifically with my dad, there's games that he's played, and Resident Evil 4 is actually one of them as well. So Resident Evil 4 and Metroid were ones that I never played, but watched my dad play and helped him with, and that was kind of like a bonding experience for us. So I think that's why I kind of like watching people play games. Like some people don't like watching people play games, and I totally get that, but I do. And I think it stems from my childhood of watching people play games, and it's a bonding experience to me. I enjoy watching other people play games because I don't necessarily want to play them myself, or don't have the skills to play them myself, or something like that. But that's why I put those two on this list, because not because I played them, but because they are important to me. And the two Mario games, so Mario Sunshine and Paper Mario, I didn't realize they were this old. Like, looking back on them, I remember them being very good in terms of the way they looked, but I guess compared to nowadays, they probably don't look that great. But it still kind of surprised me, because in my memory, they were so good that I didn't realize they were GameCube games, which is strange, because I thought they were more recent than that, but no. And we moved on to the PlayStation 2 and the Xbox. Clearly you can tell we were kind of console gamers way back then. We're not now, definitely not, but that's a story for a later time in this video. And on theirs, there wasn't a lot. So there was Spyro, which was I think Enter the Dragon, or Dragonfly, Enter the Dragonfly, which is the only Spyro game I've ever played, but I really liked. There was also Jak and Daxter and Ratchet and Clank, and I loved those games. I don't know why, because I don't remember much of them. I just remember the characters stuck with me that much, but I used to play those games, and my neighbors used to play those games. Like, we used to play together all the time. And of course there was Halo and Call of Duty, and somewhere in between or throughout the GameCube and the PlayStation 2 and the Xbox days, there was the Nintendo DS. And on the DS, you'll find this is similar to the early PC days in terms of I had Nintendogs, dogs, and Animal Crossing. And I have a theme. I like animals. I like simulation games. What can I say? I'm a creature of habit. Animal Crossing I think I liked a lot, and still do like, not only because you could customize things, but there was a way for your like house to grow. And I like those kind of simulation games where there's like not an easy end goal. So like you started out with your itty bitty house and you could get furniture to put in it, you could get new clothes, you could get like new whatever. Your friends were constantly moving or leaving, you could go to other friends' towns. Like, I thought that that's actually really neat for a game, because I don't know of another one that works like that. And if you do know, please let me know, because I'm still waiting for an Animal Crossing game to come back along, because I need Animal Crossing in my life, and that stupid Animal Crossing Pocket Camp does not make the cut. And then after that, we have the Xbox 360. So this was around the time where we chose Team Xbox versus Team PlayStation, which is kind of funny because we've come full circle and we now have, you know, Xbox and the PlayStation, but then we got rid of the Xbox, so we only have PlayStation. So it's interesting how that works out. But in that time, again, there was Call of Duty and Halo, which I have memories of because there were times in the summer, I grew up around boys, there's like no girls around me ever, but I grew up around boys and that's all we would play. Like they'd come over during the day while everyone, you know, my parents were gone, and we'd play we'd play Halo and Call of Duty and just hang out. But there was also GTA San Andreas. I don't know why I was allowed to play that game, because looking at GTA games, they are not good for kids, but I only liked it to drive. So I thought it was, I don't know why I did this, but I loved just driving around in that game. And looking back at it, the San Andreas map is so tiny. I don't know how I dealt with like driving around it, but I remember getting my brother to like beat the game or unlock more of the map for me so that I could just drive. I would just go and drive. Which is funny considering I play GTA 5 now on my computer and it's a totally different experience for me. And there was also Fable 3, and I don't know why this one sticks out to me, but I think it's because I love games that have a choice that actually impact your ending. So with Fable 3, and I don't know about any of the other Fable games because I've never played them, just Fable 3, but with that one, I remember that the choices you made affected whether you were good or evil, and when you got to the end of the game, it affected that, and then also it affected like how much money you had and things like that. And I thought that was cool. Like I love games where your actions actually make an impact. I know in Fable 3 it wasn't like a huge impact, but still was enough of an impact to make me be like, oh, I like this because I have actual choices. And then we move on to the Wii and the Wii U. I kind of clumped them together because I don't remember which games we had on which, but we had both systems. And on that, I remember that that like family bowling, it was Wii Sports, that's what it was. And we used to bowl all the time and do golf on that. We were obsessed with family games like that. And then also there was Animal Crossing on the, I think it was on the Wii. I don't think it was on the Wii U, I think it was on the Wii. Again, I love Animal Crossing games, so to actually have another one was cool. Still waiting on you, Nintendo, to give me another one for the Switch. And then there are two more Legend of Zelda games, which were Twilight Princess and Skyward Sword. And next to Ocarina of Time, Twilight Princess is actually my favorite. I love Breath of the Wild, still have yet to finish it, but it's not a classic Zelda game to me, whereas Twilight Princess, I love Twilight Princess. Twilight Princess is, like I said, Ocarina of Time, Twilight Princess right below it. I loved Twilight Princess. I think probably because you could be a dog wolf thing. But it's just, it was beautiful. Like I loved the darkness of it, and I loved that it stuck to the normal like Zelda routine, you know, your sword, shield. And then after that we have the Xbox One, where my console gaming started to kind of wind down because there wasn't a lot of games that interested me. So again, anything that was Halo or Call of Duty related, I played it. But then also I was really late to the game for Assassin's Creed. So we had gotten the first Assassin's Creed on Xbox One for me to play. And I've played, I'd say maybe 3 or 4 of the Assassin's Creed games, maybe only 3. And I don't remember the storyline like at all. But I remember the games being really good, and I kept saying like, oh, I wish they were a movie. These would make really good movies. Y'all failed in terms of making that into a movie. Like the Assassin's Creed storyline is so good. Like how do you screw that up? You had the story already there for you. How'd you mess it up? I don't know. But I kind of want to go back and play them because they're games that I've always wanted to play. I enjoyed the story, I enjoyed the gameplay, I was decently good at them, which is funny because there's a thing that I remember my brother saying, and it's because of the Assassin's Creed games that kind of like made me proud. I don't know why, but I forget what I was playing, but I was playing, he was watching. I had walked into a room and immediately like looked up and around, because that's what I did in Assassin's Creed. I would walk into somewhere and look up and around and see where I could climb and jump and whatever. So that's just a natural habit that I do now because I spent so much time in Assassin's Creed. Any other game I play, I walk into a room and I look up and around to see like what's going on. But I had done that and my brother goes like, oh, I can tell you're a gamer because you're looking around and seeing what you can do and where you can go. And I was like, oh, I got the mark of a gamer. It's true, it's true. Which is also funny because my brother said something similar recently about how I play more games than he does now, which means a lot, I guess. It's funny because he is like a hardcore gamer. He spends 99% of his time on the computer doing whatever. And to know that apparently I play more games than him is interesting. I'm coming out on top, I guess. And then after the Xbox One, we kind of, that's, like I said, the Xbox One is where I started slowing down in terms of console gaming, and I moved over to PC gaming. But there was also a period of time where I just kind of stopped playing games other than Sims. I wasn't playing anything because I wasn't open to the world of PC yet, and there was nothing on the Xbox that I was interested in. So I was only playing Sims very briefly, and then I was also starting to go to college, so I didn't have a lot of time to do these things. Made a video about my college experience. I did not have time to play games. All I had time to do was like nothing, just survive basically. But after I started getting back into gaming, there was the PC, and then there's also the Switch, which we currently have. So we're now up to the present time period. On the Switch, I play Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, Mario Odyssey, and there was something else. No, nothing else. That's basically all I play on the Switch. I do really like the Switch though. I think the console itself is amazing. I just can't wait for more games my speed come out. And then on the PC, I don't even think I can get started on how many games I play. Obviously, I still play Sims. I've played Sims through that entire time. So when I first mentioned Sims up until now, I've played everything in between. I've gone back and played Sims 1 because my brother-in-law gave me the discs for it after he realized how much I like Sims 2. Played Sims 2, played Sims 3, played Sims 4. I got it all. And like I said before, I do play GTA 5. That's kind of one that we play all the time with my friends. Totally different experience than it was before because now I actually play the game. I can somewhat maneuver my way through it. I still drive around. I'm one of the drivers usually. So it's so funny to like look back on my gaming history and see where I started in a series of games and where I am now, because they're like basically GTA, The Legend of Zelda, and Sims are series that have kind of stuck with me through that whole time, and I still play them, but I totally play them in a completely different manner than I used to. And I also play games like Stardew Valley, which is directly because of the fact that I don't have a Harvest Moon type game, and Stardew Valley is literally like a PC version of Harvest Moon. So that's kind of my supplement to make up for the fact that I don't have a Harvest Moon or an Animal Crossing yet. I'm still holding out hope. And then there's some also like random games that I remember playing. So Portal I played recently on the PC, but I know that falls into like the older games category, and I played it before but I just didn't remember it, and I only remember the recent Portal 2 actually I think is what I played. But I've watched other people play it, played it myself. Cake is a lie. I've also played some Civ games. Civ 5 I think is the one that I played the most on my computer, but I have played them before some point in that history of me. There's also Mario Party and Mario Kart, which again came in multiple. I mean, there was like Mario Party 15, so there's so many of them that were kind of like sprinkled out throughout that list of gamings. And again, looking back on the like systems that we had, clearly I'm a Nintendo person. Like, we are a Nintendo family. We've always had Nintendo consoles. I feel like we've bought every single Nintendo console that has been and have ever will be. I think we've had them all. So yeah, I think that's everything. I can't think of anything else in particular to fit into this. I've played so many games that are not on this list, but these are the ones that I remember specifically or that I have memories with. These are the systems that I remember and just the stories that sort of come along with them. And I highly recommend, if you are a gamer, take a look back at your gaming history. Write it down if you have to, because it was interesting to me, because once I had a hard time coming up with things at first, but once I started writing them down, I was like, oh yeah, I remember this game and this game and this game, and I remember this console and this moment and this story. And it was really cool to see how I've progressed as a gamer and where this has led me, and it literally has shaped who I am today, because if I didn't have games, I don't know where I would be, because it's been such a prominent feature in my life ever since I was little that I don't know what kind of person or who I would be now. And it's very strange to say something so profound, I guess, about games and how it affects me so much, but it really does. It has, like, gaming has had such a huge impact on how I've operated my life and who I've got to know and how I do things. It's insane. So it's kind of cool to look back on something like that. And whether you're a gamer or like a movie buff or a book reader, do the same thing. Look back on all the things that you've done, because I'm sure if I look back on all the books I've read, I'd see a pattern the same way as this, but I don't have the memory for the books like I do the games. But it was cool. I highly recommend. I thought it was fun. And it's fun to talk about it because I feel like I don't have enough people in my life to talk about games about. So I get to talk to you guys about it. And like I said, gaming has opened so many doors for me. I mean, I'm going to TwitchCon in October and I'm meeting friends that I've met because of gaming, and it's so cool. I have no other words for it other than it's so cool. This is so cool. And I'm so happy. But yeah, hopefully this video made sense. I know I get kind of rambly and it's hard for me to contain my thoughts sometimes because it's a wild mess up here. It's a wild mess. But yeah, anyways guys, as always, leave your comments, suggestions, and feedback down below, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye!